Mr. Speaker, and I want to thank the gentlelady for yielding. Since February 2010, more than 8 million jobs have been created in our nation. Over the last year, the unemployment rate has fallen by 4/5 of a percentage point. These numbers demonstrate the significant progress we've made in growing our economy and putting Americans back to work after the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. However, there's still far more we can do to strengthen our economy and begin to reduce the growing income inequality in our great nation. Sadly, instead of proposing a budget that would help us expand the middle class, Republicans have again offered a budget that seeks to help the wealthy at the expense of the many. Just as in the years past, the 2015 Ryan budget would slash non-defense discretionary spending without regard for the devastating consequences these cuts would have on the lives of Main Street Americans. This year's Ryan budget would cut an additional $791 billion from the post-sequester funding caps from fiscal year 2016 through fiscal year 2024. As in the past, the budget also offers an ideological wish list of policies that will increase the unemployment rate, hurt low-income families, and harm our seniors, all to protect the interests of the wealthiest among us. The Ryan budget does not extend emergency unemployment benefits, even though these benefits would help our broader economy, as well as the millions of families that have suffered the devastating consequences of long-term unemployment. Never before has Congress failed to provide federal unemployment insurance when the unemployment rate, especially for the long-term unemployed, is as high as it is today. This budget would also hit middle-class families with thousands of dollars in additional taxes every year, while lowering the top tax rate for the rich. The Ryan budget would repeal the Affordable Care Act, taking health care from millions of middle-income Americans. It would gut Medicaid, taking health care from millions of our poorest families. Destroy the commitments we have made to our nation's seniors by turning Medicare into a voucher program. This budget would also be devastating to our federal workforce, the people who care for our veterans, who protect our homeland, who ensure the food we eat is safe, and who conduct the research on which we are relying to find new treatments for cancer and other devastating diseases. Let me remind my colleagues that the Republicans have been attacking our federal employees for years, treating them as if they were the piggy bank for deficit reduction. Federal workers have already sacrificed $140 billion towards reducing this year's deficit through a 3-year pay freeze and retirement contribution increases. Now, House Republicans want to squeeze another $125 billion out of these middle-class workers. How would they do this? The Ryan budget would increase federal employee pension contributions to 6.53%, an increase of more than 5.5 percentage points for many current federal workers. But it would not increase any benefits provided to these same workers. Of course, proposals for increasing the contributions federal employees make to their pension funds are not new. This year's budget also includes a provision prohibiting new federal employees from enrolling in the retirement system that has served federal employees since the 1920s. Let me make this clear. Under the Ryan budget, one leg of the so-called three-legged stool on which federal employees have relied for security in their retirement would be ripped out from under them. New federal employees would be left to rely solely on savings they accumulate in their thrift savings plan and on Social Security. As if that wasn't enough, the Ryan budget would also eliminate the student loan repayment program for federal workers, even though this is a vital recruitment and retention incentive used to attract the best and brightest to serve the American people. The budget also proposes to cut federal workforce by 10%. Contrary to claims some that our government is growing out of control, the federal government has actually cut 85,000 jobs in the last 12 months. An additional arbitrary workforce reduction isn't likely to yield the savings the Republicans expect, because much of the current work of the government would simply be shifted to more expensive contractors. Such a reduction would, however, impede the government's ability to provide needed services to the American people in a timely manner. I agree that Congress must act to put our fiscal house in order, but we must do this in a balanced manner that increases economic stability and certainty in the marketplace. We must not do this on the backs of our neediest citizens, and we must not do this on the backs of the federal employees who make government work for our nation every day. Republicans fail to understand that we simply cannot cut our way to prosperity. Expanding opportunity and investing in America today will increase government revenues in the years to come and put our economy back on the path to prosperity. For the good of our nation, I urge my colleagues to reject the Ryan budget, and with that, I yield back.